I've been putting off this video for the last 3 days, but ultimately now here we are, and I decided it needed to be made, not to bring any attention to myself, of course, but because I'm running into more and more people, both online and in person, who aren't aware of the story or even who Dr. John Cheng was. If you're just joining this topic or discussion, there was a shooting in California, and Dr. John Cheng rushed to stop the individual who had walked into a church and was shooting everyone. And he ultimately passed away, but because of his sacrifice, he was able to save everyone else in the building. And this was a group of, a bunch of elderly people. If you hear gunshots and stuff, you get away, you try and make yourself safe. But the individual who had done this had actually gone around and locked all of the doors and chained all the doors, so they were all trapped in there. And through Dr. Cheng's sacrifice, he was able to prevent who knows how many dozens of other people getting killed. And they were all able to rush that individual and get them on the ground and get the authorities there. Unfortunately, Dr. Cheng passed away. So Dr. Cheng was, obviously he was a martial artist. He was in this community. He'd been practicing mantis for decades. As far as that goes, this is probably the saddest thing that's happened in the martial arts mantis community for decades. He was a family man. He had a wife. He had 2 teenage kids. He was a doctor. He had been working to heal that community with sports injuries, with various other illnesses for decades. And, he also trained in firearms, so he knew what they could do. But despite knowing that, he still decided to do something that day. So, I could go on and on about I could go on and on about how brave it was, the thing that he did, but his actions don't really need any more words. You can be thinking about what he did for the rest of your life. And I think it's on the one hand, when you get an old person who's like 70 or 80 years old, and they've like worked their butt off for their community like their whole life, and then they just die, like that's amazing enough, like that's brave enough. And then on the other hand, when you get someone who's like 18 and they sacrifice themselves for their friend, like they throw themselves on a grenade or something and they die, like that's tragic enough too, because then they threw away their whole life, or they sacrifice their whole life and they don't get to live it. But both of those things Dr. Cheng did, like both of them. He actually lived out the majority of his life serving people in his community. He would go to high schools and he would give his time as a doctor, and they would pay him, and then he would give back half of the proceed. He would give back half of his paycheck back to the school, like their athletic program. And he helped all these people. Everyone who knew him said he was the nicest guy. And then at the same time too, after decades of service and all this education and training and everything, he sacrificed his life. So that's probably, one of the rarest examples of an amazing individual that we'll ever have in the Mantis community. And the last class I taught, with all my martial arts students, we talked about him. We had a moment of silence. And I think it's something we should all be doing, reflecting on who he was, what an amazing life he lived. And I rarely say this, but, that's the kind of person we should be aspiring to be. So let's not just make it words. Let's also, help out with some action. And there's a family fundraiser right now for Dr. Cheng's, going directly, 100% of the proceeds are going directly to Dr. Cheng's family. And I encourage you to donate to that. And if you're, not to insult you, if you're young or something and you see, they already have a few 100,000, and you might think, oh, well, they have more than enough money. But, the cost of living in California, it's way more than most places right now. Also, too, his kids still have years to live as kids. They still have, they're in their teens. They still have their education. All these things that Dr. Cheng would no doubt be providing if he was alive. So I encourage you to donate to that, and let's help out his family, because obviously that's what he'd be doing if he could be able to. So I just wanted to, I guess, commemorate him and honor his memory. Here at the end of this, there's some footage of him, and this it might seem, of course, all this footage comes from his students and his teachers. The pictures come from his family, so they're not mine, but I didn't think those people would mind. It seems kind of weird, maybe, but I just got tired of seeing all the news covering it, and all those sites. And it was wonderful because there were people just praising him left and right, and talking about what a good doctor he was, or a good martial arts teacher, or whatever it was. But it just, with all the press releases and everything, it just seemed kind of a really informal way of sending him off. So I decided to put this, put some clips up there of him talking about his passion, medicine, martial arts, etc. So here's to Dr. Cheng, and I'll put the link in the description below, and the comments below, so you can donate to his family.
What inspired me to get involved with medicine in the first place is I come from a family of physicians, and I saw the care that my father imbued upon his patients in the small community in East Texas. And I saw the community rally around him and embrace him as a physician in the community, and I love that. And it's those small town values that were ingrained in me when I was younger that really helped create this sense of community. And in this modern society, this modern times, we miss a lot of that. And so when we are interacting with patients, it's one-on-one, and that patient-doctor relationship is very special. So you get to know a lot about the patient, their family, the community they live in. We try to meet patients where they're at. Some people may be ready for a total life change, and some are just not ready for that. And so we personalize it to how do we get this person moving in the right direction at the right time for the right reasons. But patients will oftentimes come in, and at the end of the visit, they'll say, you know what, Dr. Cheng, you're the first doctor that's actually ever really listened to me. And my role is to help understand where they're at and what their goals are. So we make different adjustments and modifications, and having to think outside the box. With each individual patient that comes in our doors, is that somehow we can touch their lives for the better. We're planting seeds in this person's heart and in their mind on how to take care of themselves. And when they're taking care of themselves, then they're able to take care of their family, which creates a more positive family environment, which then translates into better communities.
Dr. Cheng, 52 of Laguna Niguel, took heroic actions that day. In fact, I want to pause and just tell you that Dr. Cheng is a hero in this incident. Without the actions of Dr. Cheng, it is no doubt that there will be numerous additional victims in this crime.
Dr. Cheng's office manager told us when he first started his practice nearly 20 years ago, the area was just being developed. So he went door to door to introduce himself to the community. Colleagues say he worked with local schools and gave countless hours to the community.
He really was just a true, compassionate, caring man who took care of everybody else before himself.